we are, but
I'll introduce.
introduce yourself.
Yes, there was a time when you didn't. That was a long time ago, wasn't it?
A long time ago, and many articles ago.
Well, that's true. I am Robert Burns with video blog Sound Off Louisiana, and I appreciate the opportunity to address each of you today because I know at the last meeting there was discussion about recruitment problems and some talk about pay scale changes and whatnot to try and alleviate those. I feel compelled to speak out in 6.5 years of having closely monitored state police and, as you've said, published many articles in that regard. And I think it's a recruiting problem when you have a trooper who reports wrongdoing and gets told that you, quote, you need to chop wood and carry water.
At the department, then you're going to be out. You're going to be ostracized. You're going to be kicked out. You're going to lose your career, your retirement, and all the things you've worked hard for. So the best thing for you to do is literally keep your mouth closed. And I will quote Colonel Lamar Davis. He told me literally to chop wood and carry water.
I think it's a recruiting problem when another trooper who is actively involved in that same investigation states on camera before a committee meeting that, quote, I won't cheat, lie, and I won't participate in a cover-up.
A trooper who also told the truth.
We were trained in the academy to tell the truth. We were trained as police that you present evidence to courts. You don't hide anything.
Had to give up his career over the Green case.
And I'm being investigated because I won't participate in a cover-up, I won't hide evidence, and I won't lie.
I think it's another recruiting problem when you have cadet examinations administered in which flash drives with answers are disseminated widely and destroy the credibility of those who would subsequently wear those uniforms, and nothing substantive is done about it. I think that's a serious recruiting problem. And I know that the simple solution may be, well, let's just throw more money at it. That tends to be the knee-jerk reaction. And I would submit to you that if just throwing more money at it would solve the problem, I wouldn't have video of an existing trooper named Scott Lopez who stated on video, and I quote, well, they're making $80 an hour and they're leaving in droves because that's how bad it is, unquote.
They drop it like flies, bro. And like it's becoming more of a revolving door, bro.
Oh yeah. It'll only go downhill from here.
And the bad part is, we got good quit, like resigning.
Yeah. That
talking about troopers that are making $80 an hour to go with the police.
it's off their overtime rate?
Yeah.
Cool.
So
Right now we're on a flat rate, but it ain't bad.
but that's what I'm saying, like $80 an hour, $83 an hour to go with the police. They're knocking back $160,000, $150,000 a year.
Yeah. That's a lot of money.
To retire, because that's how bad it is.
So I will certainly be respectful of the arguments that are opposed here today about anything to do with trooper compensation. But as far as recruiting, I think there are far more substantive reasons as to why LSP has a recruiting problem. Because when you see things of the nature that I have just enumerated, I think that anyone potentially considering entering the LSP profession, it's not like all this is happening in little closed meetings. This is all stuff that's been pretty well disseminated. And I think a prospective recruit is likely to say, you know what? And I haven't even mentioned all of the promotions that have taken place by troopers who were known to have engaged in serious wrongdoing. And so I think one who may have a good name and would otherwise certainly be a fine recruit to serve for Louisiana State Police and ultimately be a trooper is quite likely to reflect and to say, you know what? I have a good name and I'm going to protect it. So I'm just going to tell you that I believe that money-related issues don't get to the root core problem that exist at state police. And with that, I thank you for the opportunity to address you this morning.
Thank you for your comments, Mr. Burns. On the subject of the New England State Police pay schedule.
Thank you. I won't take long on this, but in your docket, you will see that there was some information provided to us. And to quote Ronald Reagan, it's nice to trust, but we need to verify this information to make sure it's right. In conversations with Mr. Hanneman, I also understand that State Civil Service is doing some type of comprehensive pay. You can go into a little bit of detail about it. So we'll get that information as well. My purpose today is to put this in front of our eyes, to take a look at it. When you look at some of the facts of where we rank compared to other states, both with our starting pay with and without benefits, and the first year with and without benefits, we are woefully low. I do appreciate Mr. Burns' comments earlier, and quite honestly, I couldn't agree more. You know, if it was a simple solution to just throw money at problems and make problems go away, I'll be frank, I wouldn't have any problems. But point is, that's just not what I'm suggesting here. What I'm saying is, there are a lot of bills that need to be corrected, and I believe the current administration is doing that. If we take some of the statements made before, state police is trying day by day to make this an elite force. They're making changes day by day. They're doing, I believe the administration is doing what they need to do, and they are pushing forward. But we need to do our part as well. And our part is making sure that when you're in a competitive nature, like law enforcement is right now, probably one of the most competitive fields there is right now, because of the fact that it is very hard to get qualified individuals to agree to wear the badge and put themselves in harm's way daily. And when you look at the surrounding states, not just all the states, but the surrounding states from us, and you see the huge difference between what Texas and Arkansas and other southern states are being able to pay and offer their troopers versus what we are. I'll go back to my business life, which is when you have a lot of competition for very few employees, there's probably 1 or 2% of people out there that are going to do something surely for the love of it. Everybody else has a family to pay and bills to, a family to raise and bills to pay. We have got to be competitive with our pay. Again, to Mr. Burns' point, it's not one part. This is a multi-tier issue. There needs to be better public relations. And I think, you know, the state police is working on that. We need a more stabilized academy. We need to get an academy scheduled for every August and have the funding there to do this. Not going back to the Jindal years, 6 years of no academies, because that's how the governor chose to balance his budget. Or let's have an academy when the need gets so bad, bad things happen and makes the press. Part of fixing the ills that they need is going to take money. Not just pay, but money from the legislature. But we've got to do our part up here, which is start investigating this, start understanding it, and help these guys be a part of the solution. And maybe if we're able to get them the pay they need, and they can demand higher people, higher quality recruits, then maybe a lot of the reasons why we're sitting up here dealing with disciplinary actions will go away. So, like I said, I don't want to sit here and get deep into the details. I wanted y'all to get this information. Jason's going to have some more information for us next month. In between now and then, I'll make sure I get as much information as I can get, and I'll get it sent out to everybody. But it's something that I wanted to start getting the seed planted with all of y'all, and so we can help move this forward. Because I'll be honest, I thought we were doing much. I thought Louisiana State Police was further to the top than where these graphs show that we are. So with that,
I just want to join in Commissioner Riecke's comments and reiterate what I know you've already heard from this chair and from everybody else sitting on this commission. I'm extremely concerned about what maybe has gone on in the past. And my expectation and the expectation of the rest of this commission is that's not gonna continue going on, and that y'all are gonna take the steps that are necessary to ensure appropriate and proper discipline under the circumstances where appropriate and proper discipline is necessary. One of the reasons I took offense to the comment that was made in the last argument, because this commission is extremely concerned about making sure that when discipline is needed, it's needed, and that it is put in place. My expectation has been, and it's been fulfilled, as far as I currently know, that is what is going on under the current administration, and our expectation is that that will continue, but also that you will also have the support of this commission as regards other things, including financial support of this commission when it is appropriate to do so. But it's to whom much is given, much is expected, so just keep that in mind. Anybody else?
You know, I think the term that you used, competitors, I think that's absolutely appropriate. You know, we talk about local law enforcement agency partners, but when you're looking at recruiting and retention, they're competitors. And when you have, you know, New Orleans, for example, that is allocated $30 million for retention of officers over the next 3 years, that's really significant. So, you know, I'm enthusiastically hopeful to recruit and retain good quality candidates. And if this is, you know, just one part of that, one piece of this puzzle, then truly and wholeheartedly support looking into this issue.
If I can, one thing.
Sure.
And let me, before I hear it from the peanut gallery, this is not an attempt on my part or anyone I believe sitting up here to quote reward bad behavior. That's just not reality. The reality of it is you have a lot of dedicated, hardworking individuals at Louisiana State Police that probably take more offense than we do as the general public to the ills of the past that have happened. And my point in doing this is to help weed out those ills by being able to give y'all more money to hire better people and to attract the proper people to come in and help get the people that are filling those spaces out of the way through discipline and through the actions that y'all are taking, through the policy changes y'all are taking. And you cannot starve bad behavior out of people. It just doesn't work. What needs to happen is we as a commission need to help get y'all all of the resources you need. And we need to be able to pick up the phones and call the legislators in our districts that we represent and get them on board with this. And we need to act like partners in correcting the problems that y'all have and getting y'all the resources, no matter what those resources are, to be able to demand higher standard recruits to come in and start filling the ranks.
Anyone else? Okay, we'll move on then to the next item.
Mr. Chairman, if I may.
Sorry.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, I know I wasn't on the agenda to speak, but if I may address the item that we just covered.
Go ahead.
Actually, real brief, I will be, because I know that time is well spent. I'm very mindful and I know how the flow goes and I listen well, because I've been here before when you give instructions. So thank you first for the opportunity to allow me to speak. Commissioner, thank you for bringing it up, the conversation, so that we can begin to talk about the things that it is that we believe will impact and help us build a much better and stand on the terms and flag that we carry as being an elite law enforcement agency. Also, Commissioner, my first time addressing the board with you here this morning, so welcome and congratulations to your appointment. I'll be real quick. When Colonel Davis started selecting his executive staff, one of the things that he asked myself and several of the other lieutenant colonels and commanders was, do you have your running shoes? And had no clue what that meant when he asked, but while I'm now appointed in this position, I can clearly understand what he meant. Since day one, we have been running nonstop to ensure you, the public, that we're making this agency a premier law enforcement agency. And to your point, Mr. Chairman, to whom much is given, we understand that much is required. not just in law enforcement, with state police, with any public servant that comes in this world today. It takes a special person to come in and want to serve. We only talk about serving many times, but we hardly ever add the other piece with law enforcement, and that's the protection piece. We ask a lot of our troopers to serve and to protect. And in my study and in my research here lately, I've learned that a lot of folks, not just Louisiana State Police, Mr. Burns, but a lot of folks leave jobs because they don't feel appreciated. It's the number one reason why most folks are leaving. And to your point, sir, we hear you loud and clear about the recruiting and retention piece. And from my heart to yours, I want you to know that we're working tirelessly every day, tirelessly, to recruit the best and most well-deserving people that are educated, that understand the constitutional policing, the ethical policing piece that it requires to be a law enforcement agent today. But it's not just isolated to Louisiana State Police. Chiefs of police across this country have done a survey and showing now that there are over 50% of law enforcement agencies today that are operating with less staffing than they did 3 or 4 years ago. LAPD is down 300, Philadelphia down 600. Just down the road, New Orleans is down 300. So it's not just Louisiana State Police. My colleague came to you last commission meeting, Lieutenant Colonel Jody Hasselback, and he gave a clear picture as to why folks are leaving state police. There's several categories that we can look at. One, if you just take history and go back and look into our career as state police, you would see that in 1995, Commissioner Montilago, we had several large classes that came in state police. And when you add the numbers up, if you take 1995 and add it up to now, they've been eligible, become eligible to retire. So do you hold that against a person for leaving and wanting to retire and move on? And Colonel Hasselbeck gave a very good optics of how that brought us to today. While we're not foolish and aware, or not aware that some folks are also leaving for various other reasons, Mr. Chairman, to the point in the subject that was just raised, we hear you and we're doing everything we can from our vision, Colonel Davis's vision, and the rest of our commanders to make sure that you, the commission, don't keep getting these disciplinary actions that we should not be getting. A lot of it tends to lean to lack of accountability and transparency. We hope in the last 2 years you have seen that we have held our folks' feet to the fire, that they will be held accountable and they will be transparent in everything that we do because the public deserves that. That's why we're here. So, Mr. Commissioner, again, thank you. I know that you asked me to be brief, and hopefully that was brief enough. And I will close my mouth and follow the instructions with that.
It was close. It was close. You know, closey's only count horseshoes. And that too. All right. Any other discussion on item 4? Thank you, sir. We'll move on to item 5.